Today's podcast is sponsored by Fire Facilities Incorporated, expert engineers, designers, and manufacturers of steel training towers, burn rooms, and mobile units that are all made in the USA. Welcome back to 3 Point Firefighter. Today, I've got a guest that I've been dying to talk to. His name is Chief Jacob Johnson. Now, Chief Johnson got started a little late in life in the fire service. He waited till he was 15 years old at Katy's Fire Department. He went from volunteer to career through Katy's up till 2007, went through the ranks. Then he switched over to Pearland, Texas, and where he is now a B shift battalion chief. He also teaches around Texas. He's part of fire department tactics. The best mantra, the best slogan in the fire department, you have it. And I would like to read it for those people that haven't heard it, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So your slogan, and correct me if I'm wrong, is when you come to work on your tour, do as little as possible, make sure that your bed is slept in. And if you can find a couple minutes throughout the day, try to do a little bit of training. But if you don't worry about it. Now, is that your slogan?
Yeah. Absolutely incorrect. Right. What? Yeah, incorrect, man. My slogan is all about work, and it's called "Do Your Damn Job."
I love it. Do your damn job. It's all that is the best one. I love when I go through your social media and I see it. It's just it applies to everybody from brand new to the guy going out the door.
Absolutely, fantastic. All the way up to the fire chief.
Oh man, I love it. I love it. So let me ask you this. I like to start off with, tell me about your fire department and where you fit in with it.
Yeah, so my fire department is in Pearland currently. We're just south of Houston, so we border Houston city limits, and we're a rapidly growing fire department. So like I said, in 2007, I was one of the first 18 full-timers ever hired, and so that was just a short 14 years ago, and we now have 136 in operations, and we have 180 in the whole fire department in 14 years. Yeah, so yeah, we've gone through so much change and so much rapid growth that it really has come a part of just do your damn job. And it really has become even more important to be that solid mentor because we started and it was just 18 of us. We had our backs. We had each other to lean on. And we had to make sure that we passed that culture on as we kept bringing people in. So currently, I'm a proud member of the B shift. I know that B shift gets a lot of hate out there, but I'm a proud member of the B shift. I've been a member of the B shift since 2009. I don't plan on leaving. I sit as the battalion chief, and I work for an amazing group of 44 women and men on the fire department. And man, they make the job so much fun and so much easier coming into work and working for them and making sure that they have all that they need and their goals and dreams and aspirations are met. So it's really good, man. It's a fast growing fire department. Like I said, we're a little younger on the experience side, which is expected. But that's where, the experienced guys and girls that are out there need to really step up and mentor and share their knowledge and pass it on to that younger generation so we can keep going in the right direction.
That's fantastic. But I can't imagine that level of growth at that speed. How do you keep up with equipment and stations and people?
Yeah, it is a huge challenge. It's something that, even right now, we have a fire station being built. We have an ambulance being remounted. We have 2 ambulances being bought. We have a pumper that's in the stages of in the drawing stages. We have a battalion chief ride and 2 assistant chief rides that are just delivered to EVS. So we got to deck them out. And on top of that, we got rookie classes coming in. And we have people that are training to be step ups, whether it's step up lieutenant or EMS supervisor or captain. And we just got a lot going on. And the only way that we're able to get through it is that we stick together, we support each other, we live and breathe by the word family, and then we just put in a lot of hard work.
I tell you what, it sounds like to me, and again, if I'm wrong, let me know, that Pearland is growing to where they're going to take over the United States fire service completely. Within a couple, I'm estimating a few years, maybe.
Yeah. Man, I would sure hope so. I would sure hope that we have people looking at us from all over the nation and then wanting to follow some of the procedures or policies that we've put into place or some of the processes, that led us to where we are. But, if we had to write a book, I would always say that book's always unwritten because Pearland is just so new and we don't know where we're going. So within that 14 years and all that rapid growth, we have built and rebuilt 7 stations. and we have bought 26 apparatus, and we have merged with Pearland EMS. So we were separate, and then we merged with them, and we had to put on a TCFP, Texas Commission on Fire Protection, fire academy for these EMS employees to get them cross-trained and bring them over to the fire department and become one. We had to merge our admins, and we've changed fire chief 3 times. We've changed city manager twice. We've changed council a couple times. So, I mean, we've just really been dealt with a lot of adversities that we've been able to overcome because of our core values and because of the way we take care of each other. So, yeah, I mean, it would be absolutely awesome if somebody would say, hey, Pearland is doing it right and we got to follow them. But at the end of the day, if those 180 people are happy and they smile coming to work and walking into the bay and put their name on the writing assignment board, then I'll be just as happy to leave there as I would be being nationwide.
Man, that's great. like I said, I'm a big fan. So I've seen other podcasts and other YouTube stuff you've been on, and it's just still talking to you. I can't even fathom that kind of growth. That's just, to me, ridiculous. Where I'm from, they got to struggle to get, there's so much red tape just to get one engine, maybe 2, and it could be a couple year process. It seems like to me, you guys come to work and there's like, oh, there's 10 more people and 3 more trucks in the bay. Oh, that's new and different.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like that sometimes, right? But I mean, it's all the same process that you go through is what we go through. It's just we've been so far behind the ball, from the beginning, that we've had to play a lot of catch up. And our city, I mean, I know a lot of people don't really like the cities that they work for, but our city is just absolutely phenomenal. I mean, to support us like they have, and to really get us the equipment we need over these years, and the continuous, consistent support is the only reason we're able to grow and even keep up with it. It is hard to fathom, but man, it is so joyful. Like, it is just so awesome to be a part of this and understand 2 things. Like, one, I'm experiencing things in the last 14 years of my career that I didn't experience in the first 7, and that I won't experience in the next 30. I've been put in situations that have made me grow as a mentor and as a fireman and as a human being more times than the average guy that walks into a well-established fire department. And then the second thing to understand is that we are writing the history books for Pearland. So the sad part is that none of us can walk into a 100-year-old fire station. Oh. None of us can walk in and read log books, from the 1800s or the 1930s or whatever. We're writing that stuff. We're writing that history. We're producing that. So in 50, 60 years, when a rookie walks through the door, they can ask somebody like, hey, who was Jacob Johnson, or who was Matt Barrere, or who was Garrett Albright, or who was Alicia Cross, or whoever, they see in those names in those log books, and the stories can be told, and then we'll finally have that established department. So, it's kind of give or take, but you just got to understand that we're here to produce history for the Pearland Fire Department, the city of Pearland, and that one day, it'll all be worth it.
That is awesome. That's something to even think about. A brand new department, like every department I've worked for, you could dig through boxes and find old log books, and you heard old stories, right. But you guys are at the beginning and you're just exploding. Now you're located,
big time,
south of Houston, right? And you're near Galveston and Austin. I mean, you're kind of in a really cool place. So
yeah, so I mean, we're just, I mean, literally, we share borders with the city of Houston on their south side, and then we're about 35 miles from Galveston on our south side. So, but in that 35 miles, there's probably 19 or 20 different cities with different fire departments in between us, really? Us and Galveston. A lot of them are volunteer fire departments. There's a few paid departments down that way. But yeah, I mean, we're just kind of in the center of it. So we're surrounded by volunteer fire departments that might have some part-time firefighters that work a couple shifts to help staff pumpers or trucks. But I mean, as far as in our area, we're kind of the big city fire department outside of Houston. So there's a lot to live up to in that aspect too. Wow. It gives us a lot of opportunity to work in different situations.
So one of the things I admire about you is your passion for mentorship. Now, there's a few people out there that talk about it, but honestly, it's not spoken a lot. You see, if you were to flip through like my Facebook page, you'd see people advertising conferences, great conferences, don't get me wrong, but it's about ladders, right, and RIT and all this. You don't see a lot of mentorship. I, like yourself, believe mentorship is key to introducing people into the fire service and then sharing that pride and that skill with them throughout their career. It's not just something you do for a day or a year. and you wrote a fantastic article in Firehouse, and I want everybody to get that. I've read it several times, but I do have to apologize. I've got it, but the title cut off of it. So could you tell us the title of it?
Yeah, it's just are millennials really the problem or lack of mentorship?
Right. So I try not to do this too often, but I have to. Right out of the gate, the first sentence you wrote, and I'm going to read it to you. I don't know if you knew you wrote this or not. You probably did. Mentoring, it has become the most underrated and forgotten skill on the job today. Came out of the gate swinging with that one, didn't you?
Yep, absolutely.
So before we go any further into the article, that part right there, where did that come from? What happened that made you want to sit down and not only write that article, but start out with such a bold statement?
Well, I think what it is it's just, the fire department swings, right? We have swings of it. And Mike Gagliano talked to me about this at dinner at the beginning of this month. I got to sit down with him and his wonderful wife, Ann, and eat dinner with some friends. And he said, the fire department has swings and it has shifts. And we started talking about that. And I said, that's pretty much what happened with mentoring is when I got in, I had some older guys. My one of my most all-time favorite mentors was Pops. His real name was Mike Lane. And he really took me under his wing. He really dove into myself and invested in me and invested in my family and invested in the fact that I needed to become a good fireman. And then we see this swing out where it's just kind of like, I'm just here. I'm a senior guy on the job, or I'm a senior girl on the job, or I'm just here to make runs and catch this recliner and catch a paycheck. And when I'm not catching a high enough paycheck, I'm going to go to council and I'm going to complain about it. And anybody else that comes in, like, your job is to keep the station clean the toilets, keep me out of trouble because you need to be doing your stuff. And then when we get to a fire, we'll work it out. And that's what I meant is we forget that we are who we are today because of who taught us. Mm-hmm. And some of us are who we are today because we were taught wrong or we were mistreated. And at the end of the day, there was somebody in our life, and I don't care if you think that you were mistreated your whole career, there's somebody in your life that you can look back and say, I am who I am because of that person. And we forgot about that in the fire department. Like, you cannot expect these kids to come out of fire school and be able to throw a 28-foot ladder with no issues and dive into a window and do VES because they're not taught that. Fire schools aren't teaching that anymore. Like, I work at a fire school. I teach a fire academy. We don't teach that. We teach the very, very, very basics, the very minimums. And we have to put that knowledge out there, and we have to share that with the kids that are hitting the floors today, because one, it's going to save them and probably us. But two, and the most highest priority is it's going to save a citizen. And if we're not teaching that, and we're not teaching the importance of our oath, and we're not teaching the importance of teaching and passing on our knowledge, and if we're not out there showing the expectations, then they're never going to know, and they're always going to do half-assed work, lack of a better term. They're always going to perform at 50% of their capability because they've never even been shown that they have more than that. And so we really have to sit there and understand that it is an art. It is a skill, because mentoring is not meant for everybody. Right. I get it 100%. Not everybody can be a mentor. And I respect that. What I respect more is if you understand you're not a mentor and you stay out of the way, but on the backside, also have an understanding that you as a senior person on the job have an obligation to pass on tidbits of information when you see it. It doesn't mean that you have to be the go-to person, but you have an obligation to pass on tidbits of knowledge when you see an improvement that can be made.
Absolutely. I always say that any success I've had in the fire service, is based on not me, but what people before me have taught me. And any failures I have in the fire service is me trying to deviate from something that I knew I shouldn't deviate from. So I'm like you. I believe mentorship is key. It really is key. I mean, it makes a difference. It's a short-term and a long-term investment in your department and in your personnel.
Absolutely.
I tried a mentor program, an informal mentor program where I'm at, mixed reviews, and I had brand new guys come out, and we have smaller classes. We have like 5 stations. So we'd have smaller classes, 2 to 6 people sometimes. And I would find people that I admire on shift And I would ask them, hey, can you mentor them? Can you be their guy that they can go to without any problems? You will keep their secrets. They can just vent, or they can ask you, hey, I don't know how to tie bowling. Can you show me? Judge-free zone. And I found, because it was informal, I just couldn't get the program off the ground. I didn't have the buy-in from the mentors themselves. And it was one of my big, I wish failures, I guess, is probably the best word for it, because I'm such a big believer in mentorship. Again, anything I've done right in this fire service is because I've worked with a really good firefighter that showed me.
Right. Yep.
It wasn't an IFTA manual.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely not. Right. I mean, and that's the thing to understand is, like, for me, mentoring should be formal and informal.
Yeah.
And that's not my arena. I'm still trying to learn the formal side of it. We're still trying to institute that in Pearland and build a formal mentoring program. And when you look at it, man, if you go to fire departments like Louisville when Rick Lasky was there, and if you go to the Colony with Scott Thompson now, and you look at their formal mentoring programs, like, they get it. And those are the guys to follow. And those are the ones to really dive into their programs and help build your own. The one of the biggest quotes I ever heard from my training chief is, his name's Curtis Burt, and he came from the Lasky and the Scott Thompsons and the John Salkas, and he taught with all those guys for years. And he says, look, the number one key to a formal mentoring program is that it's always in pencil, because you always have to be changing it, tweaking it, doing whatever you can to keep it on top of what mentoring should be. And so that really stuck with me, And for me in my class and my presentation, and the way I look at mentoring it's my mentoring program. Everything that I believe in was built on failure and fueled by regret. And it's because of my leadership failure, and it's because of my mentoring failure, and it's because of everything that I experienced personally that I don't want anybody else to ever go through that I did to a rookie. And so that's why I try to tell people, like, I'm going to tell you everything that I did right and everything I did wrong and what I've done to fix it. And here's my process. And this process may not be for everybody, but at the end of the day, if you're here tonight to learn about a formal mentoring program, this isn't the class. Like, I can give you all the information, the guys that can point you in that direction. But if you're here to learn how not to be a 2012 Jacob, I got you. Like, I can help you. And so that's kind of how we hit it.
So you mentioned your mentor program. Where do you go and teach your mentor program?
I've taught it all over. I've gone nationwide here recently, which is great for me. It's really opened up my eyes to how big the fire service really is, and how welcoming it is. I've met some amazing human beings along the way. I've taught in states of Georgia, Texas. I've taught I'm going to teach in Ohio at Firehouse Expo. I'm going to teach in Florida in 2022 at North Florida Fire Expo.
Nice.
I'll be at the Teaks Leadership Symposium in Texas in January of 22. And sometime this month, or I say, well, in what is this, 12 hours, 6 hours? Sometime in September, I'll get a notification, see if I got into FDIC or not, be able to go up to Indy.
Oh, wow.
So
congratulations.
It's just been phenomenal. Yeah. Thanks, man. Hopefully I can get in. And if I don't, then, I'm still out there and I'm still Jacob. Right. So the nation is big, and I'm willing to go anywhere and everywhere that people want to bring what I have to offer.
That's fantastic, man. That's fantastic. Another thing that you wrote was the lack of mentoring is killing the fire service today. Another bold statement, man. So where have you seen that the lack of mentoring is killing the fire service? Is it something you've seen in Pearland, or is it something as you travel around local departments?
Yeah, I think a little bit of both. I think that I do see some of it in Pearland. I think that some people in Pearland maybe not have done the best job that they should have done, myself included, in 2012, because I think it's just, we're young and we're learning, and we have to understand our roles and our lanes, and we have to stay in them. But if you don't know your role or lane, then you can't stay in it. So there has to be somebody there to say, this is where I need you right now. And I have seen it, on the road. I think where I get most of that opinion from is just the fact that we have so many. Think about this. When I got onto the job, micro conferences didn't exist. Hmm. And in my opinion, they didn't exist because they weren't really needed. I believe that most people were being taught their skills in their fire stations. They had a mentor that had their back, because firefighting was still aggressive in the early 2000s. Firefighting was still about citizens first. Firefighting was still about getting the grab and doing our job and everything else. I mean, nothing as far as that has really changed. But what I think has changed is the fact that we're losing the older members of the fire service. We're losing that mentoring. We're losing that mentality. And so these micro conferences started coming up. So that way the really hungry, good firemen of today who are good mentors could spread that nationwide. And if you think about it, they're really taking over the country right now. And it's absolutely phenomenal.
Oh, the past couple of years, it's blown up. There's, again, you go through Facebook feed, there's just one after the other, and all heavy hitters like yourself that are going to these, and you're sharing your experience. Now, you keep bringing up 2012. What happened in 2012?
2012 was just a bad year for me. I'd gotten real cocky and real arrogant, and I had a rookie come to the station that straight up, I didn't do my damn job with him. About 9-10 months later, after he got off probation, he ended up losing his job. And I really credit it to the fact that I never taught him how to keep his job. I never taught him the skills that he needed to know. I just kind of said, like, we'll get you there. We'll get you there. But I've had 2 successful rookies. I'm a lieutenant. I know what I'm doing. Like, we'll get you there. Don't worry about it, because I got more important stuff to do. And I didn't really dive into it. And I really didn't do my job of teaching him and getting him where he needed to be. And then he ended up losing his job ultimately. So I take that on the chin, and it really is my failure. And it's what 100% made me revisit my mentality and my outlook on rookies when they hit the station, and how I can get them to that next level. And it's how my whole process was built.
That's fantastic. I mean, the more I get to talk to people on my podcast, the more I realize that their success is built out of failure. No one ever, I mean, you want to think that, Alan Veruncini was perfect from day one till, the day he passed, but chances are you don't get good without making quite a few mistakes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I'm going to bring this up because you hit on it just now, but you said when rookies hit the station, we normally tell them, you owe us everything. We gave you a job, but has there ever been any thought that they don't owe us anything? Wow.
Right. So that's how I start out every class. I stand up there, I introduce myself, and then I say, okay, anybody who has 5 years or less on the job, raise your hand. I make them raise their hand. I tell them come up to the front of the room, and I stand in the crowd, and I tell everybody, look at them. And I said, some of you may know these men and women standing up here. If you don't know anybody, think of someone in your firehouse or in your fire department or on your shift that has less than 5 years. And I want you to understand one thing. They do not owe you anything other than hard work and an open mind, because they earn their spot in your fire department. And I mean, when you really want to break this down and when you really want to think about it, they had to fill out an application. And in today's world, they had to fill it out correctly, which is coming pretty hard or pretty hard to come by these days. Then they had to pass a physical agility and pass a written test and pass a lie detector test and a panel interview. And they had to pass a fire chief interview, all of that to be able to walk into your firehouse with a half gallon of ice cream and a cake and say, good morning, Lou, I'm here for duty. And so, yeah, they earned their spot. You didn't give them anything. You're not a part of anything as a pipeman in your fire department. Like, you're not a part of that hiring process. You might have gone out there for the physical agility. You might have helped with the interview. But at the end of the day, you're not a decision maker for hiring or not hiring that individual. They earn that spot. So, yeah, when they walk in the fire station, they don't owe us anything other than an open mind and hard work. We owe them everything.
Wow. Now, when you wrote that and that hit the magazine, how many people in your department took issue with that?
Not a whole lot. I mean, I would like to think that it's pretty well known that I practice what I preach and that I'm very vulnerable about my mistakes. My class that I put out there, I've never taught without teaching to my shift first. Even when I redo things, even when I add slides, I'll send it to people on my shift that I trust real close, like, and say, hey, what do you think about this? Do you think this is something worth adding to the class? Give me your opinions. And so I like to think that most people didn't have much issue with it. And if I'm sure they did, but they didn't tell me. But at the end of the day, like if
No,
you have
Chief,
an
it was
issue with it,
perfect.
yeah, exactly. Right. So if you have an issue with it, man, just come and sit down and talk with me, and I'll be happy to bring you through my whole career. And you can see the transformation in myself as a human being and as a leader. And if after that you still don't believe in me, well, then, that's fine, because not everybody is going to believe in me.
Right.
Every single person in this world has somebody out there that doesn't like them or doesn't believe in them or thinks they're full of junk. And that's fine, man. Like, that fuels me even more. If I get text message or whatever, like, you're a liar, okay, that's fine. That just fuels me even more to keep doing what I'm doing and doing what's right and pushing past all the hate.
Well, I wrote an article, and I'm not trying to plug it here. However, it's on Firehouse Magazine, and it's The Generation Gap by Jake Barnes. Anyway, when I wrote that, it's very similar. That's what caught my eye about yours is we have very similar thoughts about this. But when I wrote that article, had people in my department totally disagree. And I was basically saying, we have to, okay, so the mentality where I'm at is, you joined us, we didn't join you. You do everything we tell you to do, how we tell you to do it. And so my article, I'm like, well, you need to know how generations work. You need to know how to talk to people, and you got to understand that they're not going to respond to you the way you responded to your earlier captains. And I got quite a bit of pushback from that, but I still believe that. I still believe that we have to change. If we want our department to move forward, we as an industry have to accept these young people as not people that we're just to beat up for a year. And then after a year, if they still hang around after being beat up on, then we'll show them stuff. So that's what I was getting at, is I've had a few, more than one or two comments that, no, they joined us, we didn't join them, they quit, they go work at McDonald's. I'm like, that's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. But, it is crazy. But think about this. Like, if you want to really break it down for those individuals, let's put it into some true real life perspective that I think majority of us can relate to. When you were a kid, your grandparents were harder on you than your parents. Today that we're parents, we let our kids get away with things that we would have never gotten away with as a kid. And it's just because of the way that we were taught, that we were mentored by our parents. Like, man, like my dad or my mom was really tough on me for this small little issue. Like, I'm going to make sure when I'm a parent that I'm not that tough for that thing. I'm going to make sure that when I have my tough moments, when I have those moments that I really need my son or daughter to understand where I'm coming from or grasp that point, that they're going to know it's meaningful. I don't want to be mad at them all the time. I don't want them to think they owe me something all the time, because it'll never be meaningful and they won't learn. And that's what we're dealing with in the fire service. Is we're dealing with different generations. We're dealing with different generations of leaders. We're dealing with leaders who have transformed, who have gone out and received different types of trainings and different outlooks. And so, as these kids come in and hit the fire station, it's almost like the guys and girls that were hard on us, that's the grandpas and the grandmas that are, now we're the parents and so on and so forth. So we're going to take it a little bit easier, or we're going to take it at a different approach that might seem that we're being easy or soft on them, but we're really not. We're just approaching it differently.
Right.
Delivery and teaching and mentoring is way more important than the words that come out of your mouth. Your delivery is everything.
I got to sneeze. I'm going to mute here in a second. Sorry.
Yeah. Ooh, that was a good one.
Oh, I think I'm going to have to clean up my wall here in a minute. No, I totally agree. Now, I've failed miserably on that. I will tell you, and I think I've told the story before, what turned me around was I was training a group of 6 firefighters, and I had one firefighter in particular that was asking why all the time. Why? Every time I told him something, why? And I may be exaggerating, but he asked why a lot. And I got aggravated with it. And then I realized it's my ego. It was my ego. He wants to know why, in this particular generation that we're talking about, they really want to know the why. They'll knock it out of the park for you every time. And this guy's an excellent firefighter, a great hire. And I remember that to this day, I remember exactly where I was standing and what he was doing. And it just hit me. I was like, you're doing it wrong, Barnes. You're just doing it wrong. You're putting your ego in front of teaching these new guys, because he's asking why on everything. Because I'm afraid I may not know the answer, is probably my biggest fear.
Yeah, absolutely.
And once I got over that, I'm wanting you to ask why. Dealing with the generations now, I think is a lot easier for me. I really stepped on my own ding dong with that one, but again, great hire, great guy. So you're mentoring. You travel around the country, which is totally awesome. It's a very important message. How long is your class normally?
Man, I can cut it down to whatever. So I've had it go as long as 4 hours, and I have presentations built for that to where we can really dive into more of the process and how to go through each step of the process. And then I've dialed it down to where I can teach in about an hour and a half. And then, for Teak's leadership symposium in January, I'm gonna have to dial it down again because I only get a 1 hour slot 2 times a day. So I'm going to have to even cut it back even more. And so that's where I'll go and teach to my shift the same presentation, but a cut down version, and say, okay, I only have an hour. What points out of this? You've seen it 20 times. What points do you as an audience have to hear so I can drive home the importance of mentoring and making sure we're keeping it alive? And it really comes to a lot of cut and paste and play with time based on what I need to get done for that conference.
What do you think sent you down the path to not just mentoring and writing articles about it, but wanting to go out and teach? And like, hey, I've got to go not just to another department in the next county over, but I want to go around the country teaching.
Oh, well, for me personally, it was simple. There's millions of firemen in America, right? And in Texas alone, right, there's probably well over 1 million firemen in Texas. I mean, I can pretty much say that with confidence. I've never ran the numbers on it, but we're a huge state, and every little town has a fire department, whether it's volunteer, career, part-time, whatever. So for me is, if there was one Jacob Johnson in Pearland, Texas, 70 square miles of Texas, there's got to be thousands of others. And if there's one, we'll call him Chris. If there's one Chris that was mistreated, or not say mistreated, but that was not mentored correctly, like in 2012, then there must be even more of those out there versus Jacobs. So I want to try and reach out to every single one of those, one, to help me deal with my own failure and understand that, it was a part of transforming and a part of growing, but two, to try to prevent it for the future. And for those Chris's out there in the world that are thinking about quitting the job or thinking about leaving the service in total, or wanting to leave your fire department, or maybe they're headed down the path of termination because they just haven't been taught, I want to try to stop that. And that's my whole motivation for even going out there, is get training out there, get people back positive about the job, get people involved in it, make them understand that you cannot sit here and bark on social media the word brotherhood and the word mentor and the words of we're here for them if you're not there for them in the firehouse.
Wow.
Right. The word brotherhood, the word brotherhood is not a 24-48 term or 48-96 term or whatever shift you work. It's a 24/7, 365 term. If any brother or sister calls you at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, you better answer the phone. If you can't go pick them up or you can't go be by their side, you better be able to call somebody who can and stay on the phone with them. Do whatever it is. It is a brotherhood, it is a family. We have to live by that. When it comes to saying we are here for them, citizens first, and this and that, well, if you're saying that for 24 hours at a time, and then for the other 48 hours, you're not going to training, you're not reading articles, you're not listening to a podcast, you're not calling your senior man or the rookies on your crew and bouncing ideas off of them, then you're not really there for them. You're only saying that because it's a catchphrase and it's cool to say. Your actions dictate your words. And so you have to live by that. And that's where I come from, is like, I want people to understand who I was and how bad I feel about it. And I want people to learn from what I have to share and then maybe prevent something like that happening again.
Wow. Yeah. That, again, along those same lines, I call them, the t-shirt and bumper sticker crowd, where off duty, they'll wear their fire department t-shirt and that, because they want everybody to know, but when they go to work, man, they keep that recliner from floating up to the ceiling. They complain about training.
Oh yeah.
They don't want to make runs after midnight, all those things. And those are my t-shirt bumper sticker crowds. They want everybody to know they're firemen, but they don't want to be a fireman. They're city employees is what they are. Is what they are. That's all.
That's right. Yeah. They get on shift at 6 and their toes up by 6:30. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's pitiful. Now I did go through that too. My journey as a firefighter was oddly enough started in Texas. I was a firefighter in Wichita Falls, which now when I talk to people from Texas, I got a few friends in Texas. They always say, "Yeah, you're not from Texas if you're in Wichita Falls. You're from Oklahoma."
No, you from here.
Okay,
hey, you're south of the Red River. You're good. You're south
I was
of the
right
Red
on
River.
that sucker. Yeah, I was in the Shepherd Air Force Base, but my son was born on that base, so he's actually a Texan. So I guess by the transit of property, I can claim it. But I got some friends that say, no, you're not Texas. No.
No, you're definitely here. I count you because you still got to cross the Red River to go gamble. So you're a Texan.
I'm going to have to send this podcast to him and see, you don't get more Texas than living down in Houston, south of Houston. So let me ask you about Houston a little bit. You got a lot of friends on the job there in Houston?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, down here in Southeast Texas, every fire department's hiring part-time. So I've worked for several different fire departments, for several busy fire departments. I've gotten to know some of the most fantastic firemen I've ever had the pleasure to work with. Houston, oddly enough, I think I know more about Houston Fire Department history than any other fire department out there. I really dove into it. That's who I really wanted to work for when I was young, and it just didn't work out with budget cuts and hiring freezes and everything. And I ended up being blessed and getting on with Pearland. So it all worked out, right? I'm not mad at all, but I wanted to be a Houston fireman so bad that I just dove into everything. And there's probably not a station out there that I can't drive to right now, or at least give you the address. I have all their history books that I could find on my shelf here that I looked through. One of the groomsmen in my wedding, I call him my big brother. He was kind of my mentor when I was 15 at Katy Fire Department. And it was me, him, Junior Eaton, God rest his soul, and Todd Williams. We were on Engine Company 4. It was a 78 LaFrance. And we called ourselves the cavalry crew. So I got to ride in backwards and got to ride in the open cab and really get to experience that aspect of the job and make runs and make fires off that pumper and had my first existence of a crew. Mm-hmm. And so he works at Station 31 in the city. He's been there about 21 years now, and he drives the district chief, or he drove the district chief for 12 years. Now he drives the ladder truck there, and just a phenomenal individual.
Now they have like a lot of line of duty deaths and injuries, probably more so than any other department. What do you attribute that to?
They do, but they don't. I think they do just because we've heard a lot about it recently. But they've also been a fire department, they've since 1895. It was when they went paid. So, any fire department that's been around that long is going to have a lot of line of duty deaths. I think the Southwest End fire, when we lost 4 that day and ultimately 5, I think that's what brought everybody's attention to Houston. So then every LODD after that, it was kind of like, oh, here's one. But going back to when I got into the fire service, sadly there was 1, maybe 2 every couple years or every 3 years. And I think that's just, it's attributed to the fact they work in a very, very busy fire department.
I guess they're very aggressive too. That's got to have.
Very aggressive. That's where the legend Captain Clifford Reed was, and that's where the Reed Hood was invented. And I was taught to fight fire by Houston firemen, man. And yeah, I mean, it's like you get after it. It is aggressive, and I loved it. And that's how I fought fire for years. And it's not that anything wrong with it, but I don't think their tactics at all is what caused their LODDs, because they're going after people. They're not making bad decisions. Right. They're aggressive because they want to save lives.
They're not worrying about that survivability profile.
Right. Crap. No, they get in there and they get after it because they know they have a job to do and a mission to live by, and that's to make grabs and save lives. And they're a bunch of phenomenal firemen, but at the same time, they make 1,100 runs a day, in the city of Houston. Yeah, so we're talking, 400,000 runs a year. And I don't want to lie, I think they're at like 89 stations right now.
Holy
89
cow.
stations, and they make 1,100 runs a day, and some of those stations might only run 2 calls. I got a buddy that works at Station 46 that on that pumper they'll run 19 to 22 thereabout on a busy day every day. That's their average.
So they just wear their gear around the firehouse then, huh?
Yeah, I mean, and that's not they make EMS and they first respond and stuff, but they make a lot of fires. And so it's nothing for some of these firemen in South Houston or the southwest section of Houston there. to make 2 fires in a day. That's very common.
And
So
do you do any mutual aid with them, or is it just too far
we
a distance?
do. It's very rare, but we do, because they are busy, and so they will mutual aid us. Or I'm sorry, we will mutual aid them is the correct way to put it. So they'll come to us and go to the fire, but we don't go to them unless it's a piece of equipment that they don't have, like a tanker or a booster or something like that, where they might have a few of their territories that don't have hydrants. So we'll go there with our tanker or our booster truck for a grass fire or something. Believe it or not, man, a couple of years ago, we made a hayfield fire right in the middle of the city. There was just some old farmer there that didn't want to sell out, and he was still baling hay, and he had round bales that lit off. So we were there with a booster truck and a tanker putting out hay fires in the middle of the city.
In the middle of the city.
Yeah, I say in the middle, right? But it was along a major freeway that everything is industrial and residential. And it's just like there's this one pasture where this old farmer still bales hay.
Kind of like where the Alamo is, right down there in the middle of the city. And it's not what you think, not what you imagine.
Yeah, man. So,
well,
yeah, it's crazy.
I tell you what, you told me something I did not know before the podcast, and I want to shout this from the rooftops, and I want to do everything I can on my social media to promote this. So do your damn job. You have challenge coins, you have stickers, and you got beer koozies coming. What I found amazing is you literally put your money where your mouth is. Tell me what you do with the proceeds of all the stuff that you sell. I thought it was amazing.
Man. Yeah, well, I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, I don't need that money. And I don't mean to sound arrogant, but at the end of the day, like, me and my wife, we live comfortably within our means. And so I use that money and I send people to training, and I send them wherever. So I usually send a lot of members from the Pearland Fire Department and classes that maybe we can't afford, or maybe classes that aren't supported by city budget. And I take that money and I'll buy a pass and I'll send them to training. Now, it's not, by no means can I afford an all expense paid trip. So it's usually the registration fee and a per diem, or a registration fee and maybe half a plane ticket, or maybe pay them for mileage type stuff. But anyways, I use that money and I send them. So I take the money back that it costs to get all that stuff made, and then the rest, all the proceeds, go to training. So this year and for next year, I was fortunate enough to buy County Fire Tactics 100 Club Pass, so I have access to all 5 conferences. I was able to send somebody from Pearland to all 5 conferences. Thankfully, man, just the support has been amazing, and I've been able to raise enough money that I actually sent 5 people to Water on the Fire last week. And then at Honor of the Fallen Conference with Corley Moore and those guys up in Oklahoma, I had made enough on sales up there that I was able to throw in a free pass to Water on the Fire. So somebody from Moore Fire Department, where Corley works, was able to go to Water on the Fire last week and really just take in some of the world's best training. And that's what it's about, man, is, you cannot learn the fire department in your fire department. The fire service, the fire department is too big. It's way too big. And people need to be blessed with that opportunity to open their eyes and understand what they are a part of. And when you have classes, man, like what Kurt Isaacson puts on, that are just some of the best that this nation's ever seen, I know that there's guys that would rather go to that conference than any other major conference out there. And that says something. And if we can provide the opportunity for those guys to go there and learn, let them, man. Me personally, I've never been to a CFT class. I've never been, because I never had the opportunity. But I want to make sure that everybody else under me has that opportunity. So I send to everybody I can.
Brother, that's brotherhood to the max. That's leadership. That's everything. That just blows me away that you do that, and that you're so invested in the fire service and your fire department that you take all that money and you let these people have at it to go to these conferences. That's great. That's fantastic.
I really appreciate it.
Hey, shout out to you. And we're going to, anybody listen to this, how are they going to find where you sell these goodies at? Because I'm definitely going to be on there tomorrow. You can even double check. I'm going to buy my challenge coin. I'm going to buy my sticker. So where can we find that stuff so we can support you helping people get some training?
Sure. So what I do is I always offer it at every class. I don't have a website or anything just yet, but what I'll do is I usually get on social media every now and then. I post a bunch of pictures and say, look, sticker packs cost this much. Koozies are this much, cups are this much, coins are this much. And if you want them, here's the price, send me a message and we'll make the deal, and I ship them out from right here in Katy. I shoot your tracking number, whole 9 yards. So it's just something I do on social media for now, but eventually I'm going to get to be on a website or something like that can help me kind of process these orders, because it does get a little confusing at times. But right now it's just all through social media. And when I go and present my class, I always put it up there, and I always, have a ton of support. Last week in Dallas with the Heart of Texas Fools and Frontier Fools, man, a bunch of great guys up there in the Metroplex. I absolutely had a blast, and they almost bought me out of my swag, and it was all because it went to training. So I cut a donation to each chapter and said, hey, here's this for your chapter. And I took the rest, and I'm able to send guys to HROC or FDTN or wherever they want to go.
Oh, wow. Now FDTN is right. I'm about an hour and a half south of Indy, of FDIC and FDTN. So
Awesome.
FDTN, I had a free pass to go there. My boss was sending me, and I got sick and I couldn't go. But I had to go up there one time, and I was going up to Indy to drop off some stuff for an arson thing, whatever. But anyway, it looked like a plane crash on the side of the road, way off in the distance, just dark smoke. And I was like, oh my God, what's going on over there? It was amazing. And I was like, oh, it's FDTN. They play for real up there. They play for keeps.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. They don't play at all. We had a lieutenant go this summer, and when he came back, he said, man, that is for real. And I was like, I told you, man.
Now, don't they have one of the
amazing
classes where like you make runs out of a firehouse there for like 12 hours or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
You just like real fires, or, live fire training.
Yeah. It's just burns. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Hey, you either love the job or hate the job after that, I'd say.
That's right. Yeah. You're either in it or you're out. One of the two.
Oh man. Well, so is it possible to like maybe message you on Facebook for stuff to buy some of your swag, or do you Venmo it?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So whenever I post it, I always say like DM me, and in those direct messages or text messages, I'll always, hey, here's my Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, whatever. And always give people those options, and it just goes straight to training. And when people go to training, I'll always post it back on social media, just so people can see their investment went somewhere, of guys going to training and guys being able to reap from the benefits of all the support that I'm able to get from everybody in the nation.
And you do a great job, brother. You really, you make us all proud. Make us all proud.
I really appreciate that. I really do.
Well, I'm going to let you go. I know you got probably a few things to do. I appreciate you hanging around and messing with computers with me. We played computer tag for a while. That'd be the world's worst YouTube video.
Hey, well, you just thank God I had a second computer, or we'd have been on a cell phone.
I had a very similar problem with Aaron Fields, actually. So I was thinking that. I forgot to tell you that. Hey, if you get another laptop, that'll work. Hopefully. But it's great talking to you. You really motivate me, and you're going to motivate everybody that's listening to you, and keep on keeping on, man. I really appreciate it. Thanks for being on.
All right. Thank you so much for having me. It was a blast, man. I really appreciate you.
Thanks, brother. Today's podcast was sponsored by Fire Facilities, designers and manufacturers of realistic, built-to-last training structures and mobile units for 30 years. Make training count. Visit firefacilities.com for more information.